In this video, I will be talking about practical life. Albert Joosteen was a well-known AMI trainer who left information regarding practical life. After reading his article, I'm going to be sharing my thoughts on this article, things that I've learned and things that I need to be aware of while I'm creating works in my classroom. So the very first thing that Albert Joosteen talks about is the 4 distinctive groups of practical life. So he talks about elementary movements. He talks about looking after the environment, looking after oneself, and also social relations. And another main thing from his article is the part that us adults have in the practical life environment and what our job is to help aid our students, to help them reach what they need to reach. And so as adults, there are 3 main things that he lays out that's our job. So the 3 main things that are our job to do is to prepare, to make sure we have a good representation, and to also allow freedom. So the very first one, preparation. It has to do with many things, but the first thing that it has to do with is, what does the material look like? Is the material too heavy? Is it too light? Is it appropriate size for a child? Now, if we're doing a pouring work, if we had pitchers that were really big and large that fit us adult hands, that wouldn't be practical. That wouldn't be an appropriate work to have out on the shelf. The preparation would be wrong. So making sure that it's child size, not too heavy, that it is appropriate for the child, is that something on us as adults that we need to make sure we have. Also, if a child is looking at a work at first glance, can they understand what it is? Practical life, it shouldn't be this complex series of works. Unlike math, it should be, like it says, practical. So when that child sees it, they should be able to understand and to more know what the work is, in a sense, right away. So that's on us, is to make sure it's not too complex, not too many pieces together. The child can look and be like, oh, this is what you're supposed to do. Another thing that it's supposed to have is it's supposed to be clean and complete. And so when a child goes by this work, it shouldn't be missing any pieces. Now, this is something that I struggle with. So for example, if there's a water work out, if the water runs out and it has the food coloring in it, making sure I go back to add that food coloring. Or if all the beans after the week or day, let's be honest, it's more day, get emptied out, remembering to go back and fill that up so the work is set, it's complete, so for the child to come back and do it again. Because if a work is not in order, if it doesn't look complete, it's not going to be pleasing to a child's eye, and they're not going to want to pull it off. They're not going to want to do the work, and they're not going to be able to work on that skill if it's not all put together and has all its pieces. Another preparation piece that falls on the adult is to make sure that it looks pleasing to the sight of a child while keeping its function. So it may be cool to have really high colored or these really beautiful, pretty pieces to a work, but making sure it's not losing its function as well. Another thing that is needed on the adults of the practical life environment are to make sure that the tools being used are tools a child will see in their everyday life. So to put something out that maybe a child may not even know what it is or doesn't even have them at their house wouldn't be something ideal to put out on the shelf. Examples of this is like a duster, a sweeper. Those are things a child may have at home. So if we have them in our classrooms, have them as works on our shelf, a child will be able to see the work and be like, hey, I have this at home, and now know how to use it at home as well. as well as being able to make sure the works that they've seen and be used before also have differentiation. So have big brooms like sweepers we can sweep with. Also have the little ones that you can sweep with. So differentiation. So no matter what a child has at home, they will be able to piece it together and know what they have at home and what they have at school and what they've been practicing, what it is. So like a little handheld duster, a big duster, examples like that. Even big towels, little towels have those differentiation in the styles of the works. And another one that I never even thought of is to have differentiation as well as different sets of the same works. Now at first I was like, why is that? Like, why would that be needed? Like, have one of everything. My shelves are already full as is. Why would I need to put more of the same ones? But what Josine talks about in this article is that having multiple sets of the same work will allow children to have the freedom to choose. Now, yes, they already have the freedom to choose the works, but for practical life, it is the building block of Montessori. It's all the life skills a child will need to know. And so when you have multiple works, if the work is already taken, the child still gets the freedom to choose to do the work by having a second work out. Now, it doesn't have to be exactly the same. And let's say it's a water work, you would have bigger pictures and then maybe another one could have littler pictures. So it can be a little bit different, but the concept is the same. So the child can have the freedom to choose the work even if it's already being used. So having multiple works. So that's something I'm gonna need to add to my classroom. So another one is presentation. And so what Josine talks about is the second area. So first is preparation. The second area is presentation, is that falls on us adults. And so this one was a really neat one to read because as I am a teacher now giving presentations to my students on the work, it's something I also remember being given to me when I was a student. And so he talks about how there's 3 different presentations. There's collective presentations, there's group presentations, and individual presentations, and how to lay those out. So one of my favorite ones as a student is I remember a live baby washing presentation. And so my teacher just had a baby. Her name was Abigail. And I remember her collecting all the things needed to do the baby washing, a pitcher of water, the soap, the towel, the baby washing tub. And she laid that all out and then had us all go around the rug and had us watch her give her daughter a bath. And then she invited one of us up to bathe her daughter and to help. And so I remember doing that and then having that work be on the shelf with a regular baby doll. But it was just so neat as I'm remembering how I'm giving presentations to my students to make sure that I am doing a good job as well, remembering how I was giving them as well, and to make them exciting and inviting as much as I loved it, to make sure my students love it as well. So after preparation and after presentation, the next thing is freedom. And so the child wants to be able to have that freedom in the classroom. Yes, there are things that need to be taught at certain steps and there's a certain process, but the child should be able to choose the activities that they want to do. They should be able to decide when they want to do the activities and be able to repeat them as many times as possible. And also be able to ask for how to do the work whenever and any time that they need. And so these 3 things, it falls on the adult. And there's a lot in practical life that falls on the adult, making sure all the pieces are together and making sure all the works are together for the child to be able to do them. And so from this article, what I am going to take away from is that I need to make sure that there's multiple works for my students. I need to make sure that I have group presentations, collective presentations, and also individual presentations. I need to also do a way better job at filling up the works, putting more water in the works, putting the colors in the works, making sure all of the rice, the beans, the kernels are all filled up at the end of every single day, especially with multiples of them. So Albert Johnstein realizes that practical life is the foundation. This is the building upon for a child's life skills. And it really helps a child develop a basis for the rest of their life. So this is a review of what I've learned from Albert Johnstein's article and some takeaways that I'm going to incorporate as well.